I am so excited for this. Our guest is a longtime friend of mine, a Emmy winner, a Oscar winner, and she just wrapped doing a one-woman show on Broadway that I happened to see and was blown away by. No further ado, Chiefs diehard fan, Melissa Etheridge. Welcome to the season with Peter Schrager.
Oh, thank you. I know you're fried, but I didn't win an Emmy. I won a Grammy.
Okay, so let's get you an Emmy.
I know
How do we get you an Emmy?
Well, I'm working on. Believe me, I've got lots of plans.
Is it so like when you hear like the accolades listed and you're sitting and then you add in Broadway show? Where does that stand on like the accomplishments and accolades from a career?
Well, you know, I stopped thinking about once I won an award, I was like, oh, it's not really about the award. It's about getting there. It's about the experience. And I really, nowadays, it's more about I want that experience. Whatever awards are great. They're fun. I'm not putting them down, but it's the experience. And man, this experience of being here in New York City, being part of Broadway, going and doing a show, same show over and over, 5 nights a week, that was an experience. And it's something that I'm proud I did. Probably won't do it again soon, but
I have to mention it's just, I mean, because I've got friends who are on Broadway. We've seen that grind of obviously 6 days a week, but then you have the matinee shows and then you have the 2 shows on certain days. By the end of it, are you just so mentally and physically exhausted doing a Broadway show every day? I can only imagine.
Yeah. And, you know, bless my family. My daughter was staying here, and she just totally understood. And my wife, who was there with me constantly, like, okay, you know, you sleep in, make sure I had enough sleep and fed me, and just, you know, I had a great support. And but boy, it was very exhausting.
Yeah, and for the listeners, the show is amazing. It is your story, so it's not just doing a show.
Yeah.
It is bearing your soul to strangers. Your story is incredible. But I mean, first of all, it's a rock concert because you play all the hits, which is awesome. But it's also this emotional journey through your life and what you've learned and all the tragedies, but also the amazing highs that have come with it. Of all the people who you got to meet through this experience, either people attending the show or people you perform with, was there someone new in your life that you met that you were like, wow, that was pretty cool. I'm so glad I got to come away with that experience as well.
You know, yes, there was. Now, I did get to meet a lot of people. A lot of great people came back and met a lot of people, you know, on Broadway doing the stuff. But surprisingly enough, it was Wolverine. Yeah, it was Hugh Jackman. Yeah,
for real, like an actual friendship, like budded from this.
100%. I had met him before. You know, in Hollywood, you know,
sure,
you meet people and you go, you know, I know this person, but you know, are they? And the show touched him. And someone had told him, you should come see the show, that maybe it would help, because he was going through some stuff. And it really touched him. And I gave him my number. I said, you know, call me. And, you know, he didn't. And the mutual friend, I was like, you know what, tell him he's not bothering me if he calls me. And he called, and we just started talking about life. We started talking a lot about what the show is about, which is, you know, how to be successful and, you know, famous in this world and not lose your mind, you know, and be a person, and how not to just please everybody because we have so much success. We've got to make sure everybody else is happy around us. That's a you know, hard hole to fall into, and we've just been talking, and I can now say, you know, I have a new friend because of that.
So beautiful.
It's cool.
The show itself tells the story, but I think one of the takeaways, something you just hit on, that you were, in a lot of ways, chasing, not fame, but you were chasing it.
Yeah.
And then you got it, and it was in the early 90s, and you're sitting on the perch, and you're on the cover of Rolling Stone, and in the show you explain there was this emptiness of, wait, I got it, and it hasn't filled that hole.
Yeah. That I think, it's hard to explain to people who don't have this sort of experience, but you, I'm sure, have, you know, growing up loving sports the way you do, and now you are on, you know, one of the greatest, you know, football shows ever, in my opinion. And, you know, you're like, yeah, but that's not it. That I don't wake up and go, well, I did it. You know, it is about the dreams. It's about the adventures on the way to it. And so putting that in front of me all the time, no matter what, this is the next adventure. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, the story is amazing, and your life story is amazing, but your love for football is cool, too, because it starts with your father, who was also your biggest supporter in your quest to become a rock and roll star. Why don't you tell the listeners your connection to football growing up in Kansas?
Oh, my gosh. Well, my father he grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and he was very athletic. He was actually a really good swimmer too, and his the high school that he went to, the coach. My father came from a really troubled family. 7 kids. The father was a horrible alcoholic from World War II. Just really they were migrant farmers. It was bad, and this guy really helped him, and said, "Look, you can get a sports scholarship to college." And none of his family had ever gone to college, and so he went to college in Arkansas, and got a teaching degree to where he could be a coach. And he moved to Leavenworth, Kansas, because they needed a teacher. He didn't know anybody there, and so I was born there. And while he was there, the Chiefs come to Kansas City in '64, and I'm 3 years old probably, and I have pictures of my father and I watching the Chiefs on television. You can't tell; it's just pictures of us watching TV. But I've got a red shirt on. I know what we're doing, and he was so patient with me, teaching me, and I think that's something that I really loved. He taught me slowly about football, and it's all about And I remember as a kid watching it, going, "What are they doing? What? Okay, why are they doing? Why? Oh, what's that mean?" And he would explain every single thing to me, and once you get the formula in your head, once you get the strategy, and you know what they're doing, and watching it, it's so much fun to watch. And we would share. I remember the 1970s Super Bowl, Laney Dawson, and
you remember watching it?
Oh, 100%. Watched it. Bobby Bell and Buck Buchanan and Willie Lanier and just all these great and when they won, I mean, Leavenworth is 45 minutes from Kansas City. And everybody all the horns were honking. Everybody, and I was like, "What's happening in the world?" And once you have that experience as a child, forget it, you're hooked.
And then you wait 50 years more.
50 years.
But you do, and there's so many heartbreak. I don't think everyone talks about the Vikings fans and the Jets fans, the Browns. The Chiefs would go to the playoffs every year as a 1 seed and have this amazing home atmosphere in Arrowhead, and they would lose the games.
I know.
They would always lose. And then to finally win, what was that like?
It is hard to explain, having gone through it. When Andy Reid finally came, that was, you could feel kind of, oh wow, we've just entered a level that we really haven't been on. Joe Montana,
sure,
we were there.
Got there for the AFC Championship game.
93 it was there, but when Andy Reid came, it was like, oh wow, and you could feel, we still lost that first year, and then Alex Smith, and all of a sudden there were games where finally you'd see, Alex Smith as quarterback really try that extra bit and go in there. And that's why I wrote my first Chiefs song, Alex Smith, I Love You.
You came on the show, Good Morning Football, in 2016, before Mahomes was leaving on the Chiefs, and you were like, I like this show, I'm going to come on. And you wrote a song called Alex Smith, I Love You, which to me is still my favorite moment on the show.
And so then when we get there, and I actually sang the anthem when we were playing, when Jason was on
Patriots,
the Patriots.
Crazy AFC Championship game.
4
D
inches.
Ford,
D Ford. And just the feeling, and the whole feeling in that stadium. I mean, you've been there. Just,
nice.
And then to have
There's
it.
tension in
just,
there.
yes. And everybody doing that walk to the parking lot afterwards.
I was in the building when they lost to
cold.
Pittsburgh in the playoffs a couple years earlier, after like 4 different times at the goal line. That game, and then
God.
I was in there when they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship a couple years ago, but I wasn't there when you guys beat the Titans in the AFC Championship game. And anyone who was in that building was like, you felt 50 years. Forget the Super Bowl, just to get there again, and the stress of it was just gone. Yeah, and I remember, I think it was a Sammy Watkins deep touchdown pass to put the game away.
It was,
and like generations of Chiefs fans just
crying because it brings back your father. It brings back why we loved it. I mean, I still get choked up because that was really special. And that first one where we went, and I remember we won, and after we won, I went, this is what it feels like, And I stood, and it was kind of like, and the day went on. I went, oh, well, now that's over. Wow, what a journey! And then you just want to get back there every time now.
And they have. And
I know it's such a
it's pretty
gift.
Cool, right?
Such a gift, and it happens every now and then to a team, a different team, and someday it could be your team. I just it might. It's great when it does.
What's your viewing situation? Because you go to some games to perform, but I feel like knowing you're a couch and
that's me. That's
stay out of the room.
Yeah,
you are that hardcore though, right? Like you watch the games.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I watch it. No, I watch every game. I'm a RedZone junkie. You know how 6 hours can go by, and you know the whole, and no, I like to go to the games, but when it comes to like the really important games, the playoffs and like the Super Bowl, it's like no, I have to watch it at my house. I have
Is that right? You haven't been in the building for either one of the Super Bowl wins?
No. I haven't. I've been at home.
Interesting.
I know it's.
I've been on the field for both the Super Bowls because they're both on Fox, and I was doing post-game interviews, and it's that same feeling of the Chiefs fan I was just talking about, of just generation, and it's like, that is a real fan base.
Oh, no, it's for real. It's so, I mean, I can walk around, and I do often in my Chiefs regalia, and I mean, I'm walk through airports, I'm in every city, I'm in countries where people walk up and go, oh, the Chiefs, and before, I mean, now it's like I said, but back then, before people really knew, it's a language. You're instantly, friends.
You're an individual act when you go out there on the stage, and then you see this team sport. Is there some sort of parallel to, the art of football and the art of music?
Oh yeah, no. And I can do my show solo. Yeah, I can, but I prefer to do it with a group, and then not only do I have those musicians on stage, but all the technicians behind, and it takes that. We're about a 12-person, unit as we travel around the world. But man, those 12 people, they know exactly what to do. And sometimes it's funny, I've had a conversation with my wife where I say, God, I feel like Patrick Mahomes. I feel like there was there's a time when like something can be going so well, the audience is crazy. Let's say it's like 40,000 people at some outdoor big crazy thing, and I can look. I have my Kelsey. I looked at my drummer like this, and he knows, okay, we're not going, it's like they know. You don't even have to say what it is. It's just a look, and everyone goes, okay, I know what we're going to do, and boom, it's really fun, and I felt like that.
So I love the show, but I was a part of the show getting to know your story even more, and there's been a bout with cancer, there's been tragedy in your life, but I want to talk about like the rise, because I think that's such a cool story for so many people. Like, you moved to L.A., you have a family member, if I'm not mistaken, who was out there?
Yeah, she was my aunt. Yeah.
Your aunt. You moved to L.A., not knowing anybody, and you didn't this wasn't, I take the Greyhound to L.A. and I hit it. You struggled for a while out in L.A., and one of the stories is you end up at a lesbian bar as the in-house entertainment, and it becomes this sensation in like the underground of L.A., and that kickstarts your career, and that's when the A&R record person sees you. But this is in the 80s. This isn't in 2020.
No. This is the 80s. And it took 5 years. And my manager at the time, he and I made a choice because I was making a living. I was actually getting paid to play 5 nights a week. And musicians don't have that in L.A. And I had made this, spot for me to play and make money.
What was the bar called?
Well, there were one was called, I actually played in 2 separate, 3, but 2 really. One was called Vermes, which is weird, but and the other one's called Que Sera, the Que Sera Sera, and that's actually, it started as it's in Long Beach, and it started as a women's club, a lesbian bar. I said, look, let me set up in the corner. They didn't have a light. After like the first year, they said, hey, we'll get you a spotlight. I was like, hey, great, But I just sat up in the corner, and I would play, and now that bar is not a lesbian bar anymore. It's a live music club in Long Beach. Yeah, and my gold record's in the corner, and it's really, I'm really proud of that.
That's so cool. And then the record guys and you had a couple records before you hit it though.
Yeah, I mean, my first record, if you Bring Me Some Water, Like the Way I Do, those songs are classics in the kind of the rock world. But it wasn't until my 4th album that I got like a big mainstream hit. Yeah.
The first big hit was what?
Was Come to My Window.
Okay.
And then I'm the Only One.
And so you had both those hits back to back, and you end up on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
You're doing everything on MTV. Your fame rises. Were you comfortable with that level of fame?
What's interesting, and I know I have some of this, is it is hard to tell how famous you are in the world because you're in your own skin, and you separate yourself from it. And at the time, there was no social media. So you couldn't, you had to kind of judge it by.
As a kid in that era, and I'm not dating you or me, but
Yeah.
that was like peak MTV, peak VH1, and your video was on
You couldn't get away from
every
me
hour.
in
And so like Melissa Etheridge was part of
Yeah.
it. Was Arrested Development, it was Melissa Etheridge, it was Hootie and the Blowfish, like it was the
great
bands.
90s music back
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
And for someone who had been hacking away at this for a while, I can only imagine, like, I did it.
Yeah, there's a sense of, oh, well, there it is. There's my, top 10 album. Now I'm a hit now, and there's more people coming, and I'm playing arenas, and and personally, I wasn't happy. So that sort of, I mean, you do know it, but again, it's not. There's no, you can't stop and go, hey, I did it. There I am. There's no stopping. You want more of it. You want to stay there. You want to keep going. So it's a weird, funny trap, the fame thing is. And it wasn't until I just let it all go and go, no, I'm just going to do what I love, and whoever wants to enjoy it, enjoy it.
Yeah. And I'm imagining that the international stuff, which you talk about on the show a bunch, all of a sudden you're in these countries and they know your songs by heart.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of travel, it's a lot away from home.
Yeah.
And of course you put it all together and you have this amazing career, and then you're honored in all these different ways. Then the 2000s, how do you take it from that and say, okay?
Oh my God. Well, the shock in the music industry from the 90s to the 2000s was unbelievable. And it grew. Once CDs came in and record companies started making ridiculous money.
For listener at home, it was $20 for a CD back then.
They didn't think anyone would buy them because they sounded so horrible. They were like, oh, and they just said, well, we'll just, $20 a CD, okay. And all of a sudden, everyone was buying them, and they were making money hand over fist. My record, the guys, my record company, Island Records, was founded by Chris Blackwell. He was just a genius. He brought Bob Marley to the world, and U2, and he was just kind of this genius music guy. And so in the 90s, then, he sells his company for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so now, at the end of the 90s, I'm part of a big conglomeration. The record company, the building is as big as this that I go into instead of this little thing I used to. Well, in 95, the height of that, that was it. By 2005, empty. Yeah. Empty. Nobody.
Music sharing.
It's over. And the sales and everything just plummeted. And I realized, wow, I'm on my own. There's no...
Yeah.
No infrastructure anymore to really, the radio stations had narrowed themselves down to,
Jack FM.
Yeah, exactly. 15-year-olds, and you were here or not, and I get my songs played on 90s radio and stuff like that now, but man, there was just no room for artists.
And yet there's this touring culture, and you have your fan base, and I have to imagine that stuff never
that doesn't go away. And I learned very fast. I could see that if you were an artist and you didn't write your stuff, and you were not a live performer, you were just a kind of a track sort of person, you were not going to make any money. You're going to have money for a year or two, and then you're not. And you see all these people going bankrupt because of that. Fortunately, I write my own stuff, so that's part of an income. And then I was dedicated, because I love it, to performing, to going out there every year. I go over to Europe. I go to Australia. You keep going back. The people keep coming. You do a show that they like, so they come, and you do all the hits, so that you play the songs that they love, and that's my bread and butter. That goes to me, all of that stuff, and it's that's what I do now.
Yeah. Who are the acts that you looked at as peers in the 90s when you were performing? And I know there was obviously this amazing movement of women musicians, and of course this different voice, and there was a Lilith Fair, and there was all. Who were your crew? Who were the people that you rolled with, and who was kind of the people that you looked at and said, hey, I see eye to eye with this person, whether it be man, woman, whoever?
Oh, wow. Well, Springsteen was a real help and a real
Please, I had no idea.
mentor.
That's amazing.
Oh,
I'm from Freehold, New Jersey. I'm from his
hometown,
so he is
he's the
icon
guy.
of
Yeah.
all icons.
And he kind of, for a couple of years, they kind of took me under his wing, and it
What
was
years
really
was
nice.
That? Was that, like,
that was 90.
Tunnel of Love? Like, when was
Yeah, it was right around Tunnel of Love, 92 to about 99.
So he wasn't with the East Street Band at the time?
Yeah,
He
was on. Yeah, and so we he helped a lot. We did certainly you've seen the Unplugged I did with him.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was like, please, yes. And and so that he really was helpful in letting me know, look, you want to hit every now and then, but you don't want to have too many. You want to be known as a touring artist. And he's the one who told me, go back to Europe over and over. They'll keep coming out for you. And he knows that. And so I've just sort of followed that. But there was a ton of artists in the 90s that, Sheryl Crow and, we all kind of were in the same boat together. Alanis Morissette,
Sheryl Crow was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We saw Dolly Parton at halftime there. Is that something you would care about, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I know we laughed because we were talking off camera.
I know. Do I care about it?
Is that even a thing, or is it?
I can't help but it kind of is a thing. It's like asking a football player, is that a thing? It was the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's a thing. You would love to be part of that. Yeah. And you would hope that your music would stand a test of time and be thought of as contributing something to the whole world of rock and roll, and I hope to someday be able to celebrate with my family and do that. But I'm not going to get all twisted up about it.
Totally. You also have a second memoir that is out, and I think I haven't read it yet. I will, and it's a little deeper than just music and the rise to fame. Why don't you share with the listeners what your heart and passion is really circled around now?
Well, yeah, it's my life has. I've just had the most interesting life. I really have, and I'm so grateful for my life. But one of the journeys I've had is actually with plant medicine, psychedelics as medicine. When I went through cancer 20 years ago, it played a big part in healing and kind of setting me to understand how important my own feeling is about myself, my health, my choices I make, and the psychedelics part was a big part, and in the book I talk about that. I talk about, the first time was actually an accidental overdose of cannabis. I call it my heroic dose of cannabis that I went way far out on, but it really opened my mind to a lot of stuff, and I'm a big supporter. And unfortunately, about 3 years ago, I lost my son, my oldest son. He was 21, to an opioid addiction, and he had gotten addicted through painkillers. He was a snowboarder and had a really bad accident and in his foot, and so he went down that road, and it was very hard to see him. And I had wished that there was some alternative, to help him. And so we have formed, after he passed, we formed the Etheridge Foundation, which is a leader in raising money to study, to get the data, because the government says, well, we can't deschedule these things because there's no data. Yeah. Well, you can't get data because they're Schedule 1. Yeah, so we go to foreign countries, and we go all over, and in America when we can, to do fund studies specifically for these psychedelics, these plant medicines, and how they can help with opioid use disorder and pain and all kinds of things.
It's a beautiful show, and that portion of the show, as difficult it is for the listener and for the viewer to watch it, you bearing your soul, it has to be therapeutic to be able to kind of perform and share it with people and get it off your chest.
Yeah, every night over and over. You came the first night, opening night, and it was really intense to speak about it. But then I got back the next night and did it, and the next night. And by my last couple weeks, I was like, oh, I have found a way to organize this in my mind, which that feels good. That feels like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be okay. I do believe this. I do believe that my son would want me to be happy and not struggle with any kind of guilt about something I didn't do or did too much or whatever with him, that he would want me to be happy. He's out of pain now. He's gone, physically, but he's there. And not, and the spirituality that I have, it really supports me in choosing not to close off and make myself sick because I have lost my son. And I tell you, by the last night, I was like, yeah, I got this. It was very healing.
What an amazing opportunity that you could even do that. What's next? What do you want to do next?
What's next? I just want to go on the road and just play my songs.
I was going to say, you could do one or the other. You could say, I want to go on the road and play songs, or I want to go hibernate for the next 6 months and not be seen and just
I'm going to watch football for the next 3 months.
I think your Chiefs needed you to be watching football the last few months.
I know.
Maybe that was the one thing missing.
It was so hard, man. I'm so glad I missed the Bronco game.
I'm going to say, the Broncos game wasn't the only one. I was at the Jets game, and I'm wondering, is this the same Chiefs team? They won, but I'm like, what's going on?
I know, but doesn't it seem like that they were trying to just see what key fit, and they would not give anybody enough time?
Yes.
Until they had to do it.
We're recording this. The Raiders game just happened. They were down 14-0, and they went through. But we just talked about it on the show. I don't get the feeling that they're suddenly fixed.
No. Not like we're going to go out.
This isn't the team that was beating the Titans and the Texans in the playoffs.
No, that was with that Tyreek Hill, and he was obviously a big part of Patrick Mahomes'. And that when you had Tyreek and Travis, well, you can't double team both of them, so you always had that kind of thing going on. So, okay, he doesn't have that, but we still have Travis and Rashee Rice. I think he's up there in the top.
He has all the numbers, and he leads the wide receivers for them.
And then it's just that was just time. It's just throwing it to him over and over and over, getting him confident. I love talking football.
No, we can talk football because the defense has actually been carrying the offense.
The defense. See, that's the difference. Is we used to. We'd play games like. I went to the game in. Oh my God! Do you remember? Jesus, 5 years ago. No, the Rams back in the Coliseum.
Monday night game.
Yes. And
they had to change it because of the fires, so they put it Monday night, and it was 55-51.
I was at that game. It was the most electrifying,
awesome game.
Frustrating because my defense couldn't stop them. And now my defense can. When it comes down to that part of the game, and you're like, oh my God, if we just hold them for this, I believe that they can. And that's different to a Chiefs fan, because we used to always go, all right, can they do it? I don't know,
You have such a unique perspective being a Chiefs fan and an international rock star. And we've talked about it before, you and I, but like this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing is bringing over a whole other audience. And a lot of football fans are pushing it away, saying we don't need to see her after every touchdown, please. And I don't need Travis Kelce's mom in a shot every 2 seconds with Taylor. I get it. Yet you have a different perspective. You think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, I never like to get political or kind of or highlight divides in our nation, but there's obviously a rise in the female power in our society.
Sure.
There's an equalization happening when you look around and see that who was the best thing for the economy in America. Oh, it was Taylor Swift. Yeah. And
the Barbie movie.
And the Barbie movie, yeah. So this is happening, and good straight white guys are cool with it, and there's others that are a little weird about it. So to see the most He-Man, cool.
The dude of all dudes. That's what he is.
Exactly. Big, straight, white guy loving this powerful woman. That can only be good. That can only be good. It's like, look at that. See, that's how you love a powerful woman. You embrace her, you support her, and show up and go, yeah, I'm here.
There's that moment where he's down there in Argentina and she comes running off the stage.
Oh my
and kisses him.
God!
I don't care how cynical you are. I don't care how much hate you have.
It's love.
You have to appreciate it.
Yes, we went nuts. My I can't even. I've got a 27 and a 17-year-old daughter, and they just, were there. Did you see the? Did you see her? And it's so. It's such an American story, and it's beautiful, and it gives us something all to kind of look at and go, look, no, we're not divided. This is how you can do it. We can grow and change and get out of the weird patriarchy stuff and be more balanced.
Have you met Travis before?
I have not.
You gotta make that happen. He's really great.
I bet. I mean, I've just seen him.
He's funny.
So funny.
And it's not a corny football player.
No.
He's clever. I've had a lot of experience with him where I'm like, oh, that was actually a good line. And he hosted Saturday Night Live and was excellent.
He was awesome. Yeah, I hope he doesn't retire soon, but it is around the corner, and I'm prepared for that.
Yeah. He mentioned it in the Wall Street Journal. They had an article big for him, and he said, eventually that day's coming, and everyone freaked out. But he's the same age as Gronkowski. Gronkowski's been out of the game for several years.
I know.
So he's
crazy.
34. It's not. It's going to happen. Have you met Taylor Swift?
Yes. Well, I met her once. 15 years ago when she was like the second or third album was out and hers and.
Where'd you meet her? Where was it?
I was at it was an awards thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I was backstage, and she was so sweet. This is when she was, 19 maybe or something, really young. And she came up to me, and she was a fan, and it was very sweet. And she goes, "I just got to tell you, you've meant so much to me. I saw you when I was 11 years old, in Reading, Pennsylvania."
Yeah.
And she said, and my parents took me to see you, and I picked up the guitar because of you.
Oh my God.
I know, and I tell that to my kids all the time, just to try to get
cool
respect.
Yeah.
Cool points. Yeah, but
Who was that for you? Was that Janis Joplin? Was that Joan Baez? Who was
Wow.
it?
No. Janis Joplin scared me when I was a kid.
Why? You thought it was too
because I got it when I was like 18 or 19,
Yeah.
but when I was 11 or 12, it was she had weird hair and I didn't and screamed. I didn't get it. It was more the Beatles.
Okay.
It was more your singer-songwriters, and there wasn't a lot of women that I looked up to at that time.
Joni Mitchell, like I'm trying to wrap.
Yeah, Joni Mitchell was as a songwriter. I really appreciated her. There was an artist named Joan Armatrading that was kind of underground and big in the late 70s, early 80s that I loved. It was the songwriters. It was Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
It was Barbra Streisand. I thought she was an incredible performer. It was the people that got up and were able to hold an audience and sing. I always felt like if I could sing, and if I could write, then I could stay in that arena of singer-songwriters that I loved.
The Chiefs are now driving towards the playoff thing. Would you go to a game in the next few weeks, or are you like, I'm good?
Oh, it's funny. If they asked me to come do something.
Okay. You've already done the anthem.
I've done the anthem 3 times, and they've lost every time.
Okay, so no more anthem.
So I know.
We love the anthem, but no more anthem.
I know. So I went to
the drum too, right?
No, I have not beaten that. They have asked me, but I wasn't able to get there.
Okay.
So I might. I don't know. I get really comfortable at home, and now that I have not, that I've had to watch the games recorded, just broke
do you
my
really?
heart.
Because there's an old Seinfeld episode where he's like, I watch every Met game on VCR. Don't tell me. And then right when he's about to get to like the biggest point, someone says, "Oh, did you see the Mets lost?"
Right.
You're that person. You watch it. So how do you stay off social media? You don't see.
I do. I
just no bottom line ticker. You're able to DVR a game.
Yeah.
And you'll watch it start to finish and somehow not get a score, not a text, nothing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And nowadays the things you can watch them really fast.
Yes.
You can and sometimes like the Broncos game. I just had a feeling. I took. There's a thing. It's like important plays or something to when they're playing, and I was like, okay, just give me the and then I watched the last quarter, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Oh, that hurt, especially the Broncos. But they were playing with such passion because we had beat them bazillion times. And
I'm friendly with Sean Payton, and his whole thing was like, if I'm taking this job, I've got to deal with Justin Herbert twice a year, and Patrick Mahomes is like, I can't. So him to beat Mahomes,
it was big. It was big.
Would you perform a song? I know we're here. Is it weird? I don't know. It's
Dude,
like
I have my guitar and
would you play one of your hits? Or is it,
why not?
Aaron, can we get this all set up here? This is amazing. All right. Melissa Etheridge, take it away.
Here we go. I would dial the numbers just to listen to your breath. I would stand inside my hell and hold the hand of death. You don't know how far I'd go to ease this precious ache. You don't know how much I'd give, how much I can take, just to reach you, just to reach you. Oh, to reach you. Oh, come to my window, crawl inside, wait by the light of the moon. Come to my window, I'll be home soon. I don't care what they think, this love anyway. Come to my window, crawl inside, wait by the light of the moon. Come to my window, I'll be home soon.
That was unbelievable. Thank you. One of my favorite performances of all time was right there, right now. That was so good. Howard Stern once had the Foo Fighters on, and they play Everlong acoustic on their show, and at the end he's just like, "Oh my God, that's how I feel right now." That was
you're sweet.
so
You're
good,
sweet.
and I appreciate you doing that. That was great.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
We've been friends for a bit on social media and through the show, but I feel like we've really connected over the last couple of years, and you're a special person. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and best of luck to you, and come see me sometime when you're in LA.
I'm definitely going to be out there, and we'll definitely see it, and I would love to see you perform.
Come have a dinner.
All right, beautiful. Guys, Melissa Etheridge on The Season with Peter Schrager. Go Chiefs!
How about those Chiefs?